Hello, hello, hello. It's Crafty Chris here with another Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. And tonight we are going to be making a couple of cards. The first one we're starting out with is going to be using up your paper strips and your button collections. As you can see, I have a fair number of buttons that I need to go through. So without any more delay, let's move on to our first card. So what I've done prior to videotaping is I have picked more or less a rainbow-ish kind of display of color. So I've got a couple of reds, I've got a couple of blues, I've got a couple of greens, a couple of purples, and I have a total number of 17 different not 17, pardon me, 16 different strips. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut those strips into 1-inch squares. Oh, and I also matched a button that I thought would work with it. Now, to make sure I get the right button with the right strip, I'm just going to take a quick picture so I have a record of it. And whoops, just so I have a record of what button I'm using for what paper, because sometimes when at the end, after you've done all the cutting and putting together, it's easy to forget. All right, so buttons can go off into a little pile. Whoops, dropped my cutter. There we go, buttons up there. And now we're just going to cut a 1x1 square of each of the remaining strips. So I think most of these are already 1x1. We're very close to it. So I'm just going to trim off a 1-inch square on all of these. So there's one. And if an area in a pattern makes a difference, let me deal with all the 1-inchers already. Yep. So if you've got a better area, then you're going to have to cut down, and I'll show you because I think I have a couple of those examples. There's two. Oh, don't like that end. There's three. There's four. Got a couple other ones here. And you want to have pattern strips. This one's slightly smaller. I hope that's not going to mess up, but I'll keep that in mind when I'm placing it. There we go. And then the blue. Again, is slightly smaller. But I'm using up my scraps, so I'm kind of not worrying about that. Okay, so we're going to cut this down to, I think we're going to take 1 inch first and then trim it down. So we have a fairly large piece to use. And 1x1. Could have used a punch, I guess. There's another one. This is too small for me to keep now. I've got way too many scraps. This, however, will be kept. There we go. Sometimes if I don't hold it correctly, it gets a little bit of a... This has two sides. It has a laminated side and a white side, but I'm going to be using the white side for our purposes because it has more of a visual. Initially, you have to move the card around to see it. There we go. This is a pretty black and white. I think I want to get more of the black part of it, so I'm going to cut this slightly bigger and make a couple of cuts, but I want that black patterned, that black color to show. There we go. So now more of the black is showing than was. So those are the kinds of decisions you can make as you're moving through when you come to a patterny piece. All the pieces should have some kind of pattern, some visual interest, rather than just using plain greens and plain purples and so on. Okay. Almost there, folks. Now, I think I liked this side better because it has some sweepy pattern to it rather than just straight text, which can be sort of boring. Cut it this way. Look at that. Nope, throwing it away. Sometimes you have to do it. Now these guys, I think I've done all of these guys too. That goes there. And this, I want a little more of the orange than I do of the white. So again, I'm going to trim so that more of that orange shows. And this is slightly under an inch, which is hopefully going to work out okay. And my gray piece. I did include gray and black in order not to have too many of the other colors. Didn't use white because my base is white. But I did use black and white, so hopefully that will work out. Okay. So now it's time to figure out how we're going to lay this out on the card. So I've got an 8.5, or 8.5, a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And I'm just going to make sure that fold line is nice and solid. There we go. And I'm going to play these out. There's a couple of ways I can play them. I can have them going along the color of the actual not prism, but you know, from the color, the Roy B. Give color line, or I can mix and match and spread them out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix and match and spread them out so that they're not all in one spot, because, you know, like I'll have a pink up here, maybe an orange here. I'm going to be 4 across. I want to get the yellow away from the orange. Maybe have the gray down here. Brown beside the orange. Turquoise up here. Let's see. Blue down here. Another yellow is here. Pink, second pink. I'm missing a row here. Let's move this all up. So I'm going to put pink down there, red there. Go shift that red down there. Turquoise over here. Now I'm going to have very little space in between them, but I am going to go to almost to the edge so they will line up. across the page with a little tiny bit of space in between each, which I'll play with when I get to actually gluing them down. The other thing, because some of them are narrower than others, I want to make sure that it doesn't look odd when I lay them down. I think I'm going to move that yellow out and put a purple there. So these are all last minute decisions you make when you see everything laid out. You say to yourself, do I like the way that's lined up? Do I like that color blend? I was taking a risk of mixing it all up. And I actually don't like it mixed all up. Alrighty, so I can do across like lines or swigglies for the color order, or I can do from corner and blending it out. So let's see how that looks. So if I'm doing pink, I can do red next, and then I can do purple and purple, and in the middle I can do blue. Oops, I have another pink here. So I think I'm going to do 2 pinks at the side. Red, red, purple, purple, blue, blue, blue. Squish this in a little bit. Green. I only have one green, but I do have, before I go to green, I'm going to do yellow, yellow, green, and black, brown, black, brown over there, and gray here. I'm just making it up. You can make up your own combinations. And this is where my sentiment is going to go on the bottom. That I don't mind too much, to be honest. So I think I'm going to stick with this method. I want to leave about 3/16 of an inch across the top. I want to leave a 1/16 of an inch down each side. I'm going to take a picture again so I know how I had everything laid out. And now I'm just going to do some guidelines on my card so that it doesn't look like I haven't made any prep. Okay, so we're going to do 3/16 of an inch here, 3/16 of an inch here, and I'm just going to lightly draw a line across the page. Okay, and then some of these, like I said, are under an inch, so I have to locate which ones are under an inch. These are good inches. Good inches. I swear I had some. They seem to be very close. So I may not have to worry about it. I don't think I'm going to worry about it. They seem to be very close, if not an inch. All right, guideline along the side. I'm giving myself about a 1/16 of an inch. So let's put that dot there. And it's just simply to get my ends and finishes, beginnings inside the border. So 1/16 of an inch. Okay. Alrighty. So now I'm going to get my glue. I'm not going to worry about using tape today. I'm just going to use some glue because I've got lots of glue I need to use up. Going to look at my picture. And I'm going to start in the corner with my pink. And I want the darker pieces at the top. I'm just going to do a little scribbly because you don't have to put too much of this quick dry glue on. And I'm going to get that lined up right along those two lines. There we go. And then I'm going to do the other side, which is this fella here. Now, should any of this glue comes out, it is clear, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I want my star shapes going up and down. Okay, so those are my two beginning pieces. And then my middle pieces are the red hearts and the purple dots. And I'm going to just make sure that I can figure out how much I need to go between them before I glue them down. They're like a 32nd of an inch. Perfect. So we'll do that. Lining it up across the top. There we go. Try it the other way, see if it's wider. There we go. There we go. So there's my first row lined up. And then my second row, I'm just going to eyeball the space and give it the same space. So my second row, I have this, this, and this. Okay, these three colors. And then my third row is purple, turquoise, this, and this. And my last row is that, 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 and that. Okay. Okay, so there is our finished piece. And now we're going to glue on our buttons. So I'm going to go back to my button paper. I'm going to look at my button image. All right, so for the light pink, I had this light pink one. And I'm just going to stick it right in the middle, and I'm going to offset the holes. Now, I'm hoping this will hold. Because it is such a smooth surface, it may not. I may resort to doing pop dots. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, why take the chance? Let's just get those pop dots out, or not pop dots, but glue dots. I'm going to use small glue dots. For the buttons. And the red one had the red heart. Wait a minute, the red heart had the dark red button. Gotta push them on nice and strongly. And the buttons are gonna go on an angle in the center of the square. And then the purple, I had this wooden button. So I've used all kinds of buttons. Now this isn't a purple button, but it's wooden and it has purple on it. So that's good enough for me. My purple buttons are limited. There we go. And we're going to have the holes going in a different direction. And then the yellow, we have the square button, and it's got a piece of wire on it. So I'm just going to pop that wire out. And it's best to keep your buttons as small as you can, but sometimes you just don't have the right size. So you make do with what you have. As long as you can see some of the pattern around and about the outside of it, that's all you're looking for. And then this yellow had the wooden yellow button, and it's got a pop dot on it, which I'm taking off because I don't want it to be any higher. It's got to go in an envelope. So I'm taking the pop dot off the back of that one and putting on a glue dot. There we go. Okay, and then this blue had the blue flower. It's nice if you have different shape buttons because it makes it more fun. And let's see, tilt it a little bit to the side. And the heart button. It's going to go straight down as is, in the proper direction. And then this fuchsia button. Sometimes I struggle with these. And it's going to go up and down. The holes, that is, are going up and down. Got glue on my fingers there. And then the next one is the deep purple, which I am putting the glittery silver one on. It's so pretty. I don't know if you can see it there. Nope. But it's got glittery silver elements with a white background. It's very pretty. I have the focus right down on the table, so when I show you the card, I'll put it into autofocus so you can see it better. I think I'll just put this left and right. There we go. And I have the dark green button for this spot. Come on, let go. There we are. There we go. And then this one will have the dark blue button. And sometimes if I like the back side of the button better than the front side, I'll just adhere it down upside down. Like this one, the front is kind of pale, but the back has got a better color to it. So there we go. And the green button. This is the same on both sides. No choices to be made except direction of the holes. There we go. And then our orange button. Our orange button is actually a sticker button. Already has, except it's not very well done. So I'm going to put a new pop dot on there. There we go. So, whoa, make sure we don't do that. I'm going to go in this direction. Almost put it on the wrong square. Brown button is a little flower wooden button. We're going to give it a bit of a eighth of a turn there so it doesn't stay straight up and down. And the gray button, it's going to go flat on there. And then the black button that has the shiny silver stuff in it. Whoops. And it's going to go right in the middle of there. Now, I'm just changing my autofocus. So I can now bring this up and you can see all of those buttons. So this has a black background with glitter in it. That's got some silver stripes in it. Very pretty. Okay, now it's time for our sentiment. So often I will take the zip strips off of paper that I've used, words that have been in different collections. I'll cut them apart and I'll sort them into containers like this that I title, you know, like this one, for instance, is inspiration, and that's what I'm going to be using for the cards today. I do stamping, but if I'm in a hurry, stamping takes a lot of time finding all the materials and everything, so it's just quicker for me to go in and grab something. So I found this saying that says, chase your dreams and create a life you love, and I'm just going to place it at the bottom with pop dots, and I'm going to cut it like that. So I have the two pieces here, and then I'm going to pop dot it, and I have some leftover pop dot, material, so I'm going to use that. I use up everything. Just put that along there. Probably don't need that many pieces. There we go. All right, so there's the first one. So chase your dreams. And then here, I'm going to need a little bit more. And there we go. Okay, chase your dreams. So something like this. Now, there was this little piece of stripe, and I'm just wondering if I put that up there, if that's going to add anything to it. No. But I have to try, right? Because otherwise it gets thrown out, which it just did. All right, now let's see about the measurement of this. I'm just going to eyeball this. And I think I'll do it something like that. So maybe a 1/4 of an inch from here, 1/4 of an inch from there, and about a 1/16 of an inch top to bottom. So giving myself a 1/4 of an inch from that end, 1/16 of an inch from the patterns. Doing the same thing here, giving it about a 1/4 of an inch. There we go. Making sure it looks proper to me. Adjusting if I need to. There we go. And there's our finished first card. That is so much fun. I know who I'm going to send that to too. Awesome. Okay, number 1. Okay, I zoomed in a little bit for this next one because it's a 3x3 card and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I had these sticker buttons, which I don't even know if they stick anymore, but I needed to use them up. So I just cut 5 of them, 2 big ones and 3 little ones from a piece of paper, or from the stamp set, and I'm going to add them to the card. And we're going to make a happy birthday card, and this one is so super cute and super, oh, it is sticky, and super fast. So we're going to put 1 here, 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 here. Okay. My bow is going to go there, so I need to draw wiggly lines up to the balloons. And there's going to be a wiggly line that goes there, so we need 2 base lines there. This one's going to go through there, and this one goes to there. Little bow ties underneath the balloons because that's where they get tied up. Okay, and then I'm going to have 5 strings that kind of just hang off. Make my bow. There we go. I'm going to draw a hand-drawn line, yes. I'm not doing any measuring, just keeping my eye on the edge of the paper as I roll my pen along. Okay, and then I'm physically going to write happy Now, I can make it fancier by putting little dots on all the upstrokes. So where everything attaches, basically. So you can make it a little bit cuter. And that's it. It's a birthday card. Now that took no time at all. Probably took me longer to pick the button stickers than to do anything else. But look how cute that is. That's a great card to put in with a gift. And it took me however long this part of the video is. Alright, so we're doing another 3x3 card. This one has sort of like a goldish cover surface on it. It's not craft, but it's kind of a craft color. These are 3x3, so I'm going to cut a mat that is, let me get 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'm just using regular paper. I'm not doing any kind of fancy paper, cardstock. All right, there we go. So there, that should fit in there. I may even want to take it down a little bit more. So 2 5/8 is what I'm taking it to. So it'll be a 2 5/8 inch square, because I do want to show some of that background color. Alright. And now, to trim this up a little bit, I'm going to get my black marker, and I'm going to draw a dotted line across the top. The first time you do this, it may be a bit of a challenge, but after you practice it for a little while, you get better at what angle to hold the pen at and how big to make your stitches, and you can be more consistent. And it depends too if you're in a big hurry. I tend to always be in a hurry, so mine maybe aren't the most consistent. I start off really well, and then things go from good to bad. But that's what makes it handmade, right? Can't be perfect all the time. So there's my stitch square. Now I'm going to stick my square centered on my paper, and I'm just going to use my tape runner. Yes, I'm still using up my old broken down tape runners. Alrighty, I'm going to center this to my square. There we go. And that's my base. Now, I have got a bunch of buttons that, when put together, create sort of this variation of color. So they will go on like this. This one, sorry, I want to put that one there. Oh, I think I did the wrong one. 2, 3. And then this one I'm going to put a bow in, and I have room for my sentiment down here. So what I've done is I've taken some embroidery floss, and I divided it into groups of 3, and I'll show you how I threaded it. So I've got a tapestry needle, which has a bigger hole than your average needle. Makes a big difference because it's much easier to thread. The only thing you have to remember about tapestry needles is they tend to be longer than your everyday needle too. Now the important thing is to keep pressure right there. You don't want to lose the needle. So you're going to go from the back and grab it right there again up at the top. and then you're going to hold the thread at the back, poke through, and because it's a tapestry needle, it doesn't have a point, and you're going to do that twice. Try not to lose the thread in between each. There you go. And now you have lots of thread at the back to do the tie, and that gives you a nice thick amount of thread so that it's noticeable. And you can shift it around, so if you need a little more room on one side to make the tie proper, then simply just pull it a little bit more, but not too hard because you may unthread the whole thing. And then just a double knot at the back, and you're going to trim it close. Okay, and that's it. You just don't want the threads to show outside. This one here, we are going to do something a little different. We're going to make a bow on that one. And we're going to cut, oh, I should have told you the threads are about 2.5 inches. So we are going to give 3 inches to our piece that has the bow, because we want enough to be able to make a bow. And I'm simply just going to stuff it from the back to the front. Well, I better take my tapestry needle and do that, because otherwise it will probably not work. I also have a darning needle, so if this thread is too thick for a tapestry needle when it's full, mine is like a bit of a cord, so it's not exactly embroidery thread. Alright, so we're going to put one end here. Embroidery thread should go through the tapestry needle fine, but I have cord, so it's a little bit thicker. So I need my darning needle. There we go. Okay, that's to the front. And now we're going to tie a double knot at the front. There we go. There's our double knot. Alright, and then you trim it down to whatever length you like. I think I'm going to give it maybe 1/4 inch from the edge of the button. So I eyeball that, and there's my finished little piece. Okay, now I'll put these on, but once I get my sentiments. So I pre-cut backgrounds for sentiments. I never know what color I'm going to need, so sometimes I can't find the exact color that I really want to use. So I'll stick to either white or black. Let me see what I have in here for white. And finding the right size too is important. Oh look, couldn't be any more perfect than that. Not exactly the same color, so I think I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to go over here and see if there's something that I can use. And I want something small. These are all quite large, so this may not work out for this project, although I could cut it down if I wanted to. Do I have anything that's... Oh, what about these guys? I could put that. There we go. So if I put that on top of that. Okay, so I have some pieces of this that I've cut slightly larger. Looks like I've torn them and whatever. They were bits and pieces of other things. So I'm going to actually use that, and it's going to give me a small edge here that I can create with the craft color that will match the background. So I'm going to go ahead and use that, but I'm going to have to make some adjustment to the size. So my sentiment is going to fit in this space, So I'm just eyeballing about how much space I need. I want it not to go off. So I'm going to cut it at about there. And make sure you put your needles back on your magnetic tray because you'll find that they'll stick to your scissors and cause a problem. Now, so that looks about right, but I haven't cut that very straight. So get out the cutter. It's always better to do it right. There we go. Now we're nice and square. Gonna get a nice square edge on this. There we go. Gonna glue the two things down to each other, and I'm just going to use some glue instead of tape because tape is a challenge with small things to me these days. Okay, flip that over. And give it a bit of a border. There we go. All right. Just going to trim that excess off. And now I'm going to cut in the same amount for the end of that flag. There we go. And now I have my flag. And this is going to be a card for a present for a new baby. Make sure I put my pin in my glue. And it's going to say cute as a button. Cute. Button. Cute as a button. And then I'm going to pop dot that. I have some pop dots here. Oops. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now we just need to glue everything down. We're going to space it all out, left to right, top to bottom. All right. That'll go on the back of this one. Oops. Here we go. And I'm going to line up all the holes going in the same direction. Okay, so I'm giving that like a, looks to me like 3/16 of an inch from bottom and side. So I'm going to do the same with the blue. Alrighty, a little bit of a struggle there. And there we go. So there's my line up there, and then that's going to go in the center. Something's happening with my pot dots there. They're getting hard to pull out. There we go. And lining that up sort of in the center. So there's my grid in that direction. And now I need to make this line up with that one. And then the rest will just come off easily. There we go. And then this guy can go in the center. That's the nice thing about pop dots, is you can move things around just a little bit, and it makes it easier to line things up. Sorry if you're getting my head in the screen. There we go. So we have left, right, top, and bottom. And you'll notice that I picked buttons that were similar size and similar style. I just happened to have them, but you don't have to do it that way. You can pick multiple different buttons. It's all up to you. Whatever you have in your stash. I just happen to have this, and again, the color can be different too, depending on what your theme is. Mine is baby, so mine are kind of muted pastel colors. Aha. That's what's going on. I have a jam up in my pop dots. Okay, so sorry, pop dot struggle there. And this goes here. Lined up. That one's a little bigger, so it kind of pops up a little bit more. But there you go. So they're all stuck on there nicely. Now we're going to take a pop dotted sentiment off. And pop that in there. Right to the edge. And we have cute as a button in your sentiment, and you can write a little note on the inside. So there you have. Which card is this? Second, third card with buttons. One more to go. Okay, for our final card, we are going to do some stamping. And what I've done is I've picked 4 distress colors. You can use any ink, it doesn't really matter. 4 distress colors, and I matched a button to each of the colors so that I can use those on my stamped image. And what I've done is I've picked sort of a geometric stamp. Let me get to autofocus so I can see if we can get that focusing in. There we go. So it's sort of a geometric-y stamp, not a real flower. And we will see what and I'm going to stamp that image on the card and write a sentiment underneath. So writing is perfectly legitimate. If you don't like your writing, you can certainly stamp. I cannot find my small stamp forms, so this is going to be interesting to see how this gets stamped. As you can see, my platform is huge, but we're going to go for it anyway. And I think that I'm going to take my colors. How do I want them? Yeah, let's do them in this order. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to make 4 flowers. So flower, 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 leaving a space at the bottom here for my sentiment. I use the same sponge for everything. So I'm going to go in. Actually, I don't even need the sponge. So let's just put it right on there. I don't know why I felt I needed sponges, but that's what got into my head. All right. Flower number 1. Okay. Give that a bit of a wipe. just wipe it off with my finger because it will come off my hands. Flower number 2. It's going to be orange. And these are archival inks. It can be whatever kind of ink you want. 2. Here we go. I'll wipe that off with my hands because I'm totally unprepared. No wet cloth, nothing. Number 3. Now this looks, there we go. I hope we don't end up with a green. I better check that one. Yeah, not detecting the color. So I'm going to pause. Okay, I found my smaller thing. Let's go in and do our Selvage Patina. Again, I'm using Archival Distress Inks. There we go. And then my last one I'm going to bring down here. With spritz of water. Cleaning tool. Okay. And then this is crushed olive. Now you can do this with, you don't have to have archival. I just happen to have it handy. There we go. And there's my 4 spots. I'm going to have my sentiment there. Do a quick cleanup because I can. And of course, everything gets washed properly at the end of the session. Okay, so there we go. The other thing I wanted to do is make sure I have this. This is a cream, not a white cardstock. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to get my buttons and my small dots. So the pink one I won't do first. I'll do this to go on the Selvage Patina. So it's just sticking it in the center. If you have smaller buttons, you could do smaller buttons. There we go. Just to give the impression of the center of the flower. And I have the orange one already has sticky on it. Whoopsie, come on. Just the centering part is a challenge with this sticky one because it wants to stick when I'm not ready. There we go. The pink one also has a sticky back. Let's see. Go that way. And the green one has a sticky back. I just lucked out with those having sticky backs. And this has leaves, so I have to make sure it's going in the proper direction. There we go. So there's our 4 little flowers. Now, I want to write smile. And I have an idea of how I want to write it, but whether it comes out right, I have to practice a few times. So smile or smile. or smile. That's too high. Something like these two here. So let's see how that goes. There we go. That's good enough, and I can make it thicker if I want. There you go. And that's it. A simple little card, and that's number 4. So we have, just to recap, our first card we did was with the patchwork. Our second card we did was using them as balloons. The third card we did was using them in color lines for a baby card. And then the fourth card we did was using them for, let me just get it reset here. There we go. All 4 cards. Fun cards. All right, so that's it for me tonight. If you like this video, could you please hit the like button at the bottom of the video and share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. See you next Thursday. Bye.